me begin this review by asking you all a simple question. What was the very first video game you ever played? Some can answer this question rather quickly. Others, like myself, have a more difficult time remembering details like that from a younger age. I personally could not give you a definitive answer on the subject, but what I can say is some of my earliest gaming memories do in fact revolve around Sonic. And more specifically, Sonic 1. I played Sonic 1 quite a bit when I was younger, and it, as well as 2 and 3 and K, have become some of my favorite games of all time. The games we played when we were younger, more often than not regardless of quality, hold special places in our hearts. And if they're quality games and can hold up to the test of time, those memories are made even fonder. Now I want you to take one of your favorite childhood games, preferably one that still holds up, and I want you to imagine it getting fucking shit on, over and over by an entire development staff, the same staff, mind you, that developed it in the first place. That's what Sonic Genesis is. Sonic Genesis, for those who are unaware, is a simple port of the original Sonic the Hedgehog for the Gameboy Advance that was released in 2006. Now, a simple port of a game from one console to another, one that, technologically speaking, is superior to its original counterpart, and it's an absolute pile of shit. How does that even happen? Sonic 1 had been ported up to 3 separate times to various consoles by that point as well, but yet this one specific version is on an entirely different level compared to its competitors. What exactly makes Sonic Genesis so utterly atrocious to play? Well, let's not waste any more time and jump straight into the plot. Now, this is the one thing that, oddly enough, wasn't altered whatsoever from its original version. I mean, that isn't to say Sonic 1 had an incredibly detailed plot to begin with, but considering this game was meant to, partially, be a celebration of Sonic's 15th anniversary, it just strikes me as odd that there was no added flavor to the overall story. It isn't like there aren't any added features to the game. This version adds the spin dash, which was introduced in the original game's sequel, as well as a save feature that simultaneously acted as a level select, but we'll get more into that once we actually jump into the gameplay. I'm not expecting a full remastering of the game's graphics with added flair and full-on voice acting. Although if rather hidden gems like DuckTales for the NES can get the same full remaster treatment, why can't Sonic 1? I mean, it's fucking Sonic 1. Okay, I'm jumping off topic. The plot is basically the same as the original. Dr. Robotnik is stealing little furry animals and transforming them into robots to assist him in defeating Sonic and taking over the world. It's up to you, the player, to navigate Sonic through 6 zones, ultimately putting a stop to the evil Doctor's plans. Basic enough, right? That's where the similarities to the original end, folks. Let's get into the gameplay now, shall we? Okay, Sonic controls like absolute shit, his overall physics are all out of whack, there's too much screen crunch making it harder to avoid enemies and obstacles, seeing as though your vision is significantly obscured, meaning you're undoubtedly going to get blindsided by shit all of the damn time. Sonic's momentum is incredibly inconsistent, with Sonic rapidly picking up and suddenly decreasing in speed with no overall indication from the game itself. This issue's made even more persistent with this game's jittery frame rate. To see this game hold a consistent frame rate for even so much as 5 or so seconds is a fucking miracle. If you have this video currently playing in HD, I urge you to look at the video player itself to find the quality icon. You know, that one that looks like a little gear. If your video is in HD, you'll notice that it's also running in 60 frames per second, because I recorded all of this footage in 60 frames per second. If you're wondering why I recorded all of this footage in 60 frames per second, it's because that's the speed the original game runs at, and I wanted to accurately compare the two in terms of how they run overall. So take a look at this side-by-side comparison to see just how worse Sonic Genesis really plays. What went wrong? This game runs so fucking slow. Oh my god, it's so unbearable. And that's on top of the game's already disastrous control, questionable collision detection, and what is the absolute worst case of screen crunch I have ever fucking seen. Look at this. How am I supposed to see any of this shit coming? I'm a veteran player when it comes to Sonic 1, and even I find myself running into shit all of the goddamn time in this game. Even when it comes to levels I practically know by heart. And the buggy collision detection makes navigating through some of these levels even more of a pain in the ass. Look at this particular death here. I fall into the lava trying to navigate past these platforms, and here you can see I'm actively trying to get back on the platform when I visibly clip through it and die, causing a game over. Look at this particular death in Spring Yard Zone. I'm trying to make it up to this higher platform by jumping on a spring, but I can't see what's above me very accurately due to both the camera being too far panned down and that god-awful screen crunch I mentioned earlier. Near the top of this ledge is a stairway-type platform that shifts left and right, and oh look, I got fucking crushed because I got launched upward at the wrong time, and that fucking platform sways back and forth into the wall with every motion. It's a good thing they thought about that in the original game, where it's not only made more noticeable due to the overall wider range of visibility, but it's actually programmed to shift you up or down if you by some chance get caught in between the bottom block as it makes contact with the wall. Due to this game's decidingly poor collision detection, the wall just says fuck off and kills you. And going back to that frame rate issue I mentioned earlier, it makes Sonic's overall momentum go batshit insane. Sonic will noticeably jitter in terms of speed as you move along through any given stage, making platforming even more difficult, which makes avoiding obstacles and enemies even more difficult, which makes just simply enjoying the game even more difficult, which makes me question my decisions and why I chose to play this game, which then makes me question my overall life choices and whether or not I should go back to school at this point, and if I accidentally left the stove on again anyway. All of this shit just piles on top of each other, and it makes playing through this game so fucking sluggish and tedious. If I haven't made it clear by this point, this game runs so fucking slowly. I haven't even talked about this game's overall presentation yet, and I feel like I've already exhausted all of my energy bitching about everything else this game fucks up. Graphically, it looks kind of the same. I do notice a slight decrease in graphical fidelity, but where it stands, I mean, it pretty much looks just like the original game. The music, on the other hand, oh god, what did they do to this game's music? I may not particularly care for the GBA's sound card, but even it can make better sounding music than this shit. In fact, it did make better sounding renditions of some of these songs. In Sonic Advance, a game that was released over 5 years prior to this game. And while we're on the topic of Sonic Advance, that game runs far better than Sonic Genesis could ever dream of, and it has so much more to offer, like actual cutscenes, better music as was previously mentioned, multiple characters, pseudo 3D environments, etc. And it still runs like butter compared to Sonic Genesis, even with all of that added onto it. Even worse, it was proven that Sonic 1 can run properly on the GBA by a man going under the alias of Stealth, whom you all might know as one of the two men that worked on the remastered versions of Sonic 1 and 2 released for iOS and Android in 2013. In early 2007, Stealth developed a proof-of-concept ROM that was designed to directly counter that of Sonic Genesis by proving Sonic 1 could properly be ported over to the GBA, with all of its original aspects left intact, as well as additional content, like the Spin Dash, and even the addition of Tails and Knuckles as playable characters, with all of their additional properties from S3 and K. This makes the mere existence of Sonic Genesis even more insulting, as it proves Sega were just fucking lazy with this port and just threw it out there willingly knowing they'd still make profit regardless of its quality. That's just fucking disgraceful. I mean, how could you possibly treat your mascot franchise so fucking poorly? It's sickening. I could easily class this as the absolute worst Sonic game ever released without any further question whatsoever. But I'm not going to, for the sole reason that there really isn't any reason to play this game. You could make the excuse with Shadow that its plot is technically canon to the overall main series of Sonic games, and so that's your reason to play it. But with this game, there literally is no other reason aside from you enjoying making yourself miserable. Sonic 1 is easily the most accessible game in the entire franchise, seeing as though it's been ported to practically every other console known to man, from the Sega Saturn, to the PS2, to the GameCube, to the PSP, to the Wii, to the PS3, to the DS, to my fucking toaster. God damn it. Sonic 1 was even later ported to its own original console as part of the Sonic Classics compilation, released in 1995 for the Genesis. I'm not even sure if I can think of another instance where that's happened. It's because of this that I honestly can't place Sonic Genesis above or below any other Sonic game. It's almost as if this isn't a Sonic game at all. Really, it's just a void where nothing worthwhile exists, and it should be treated as such. What else can I say other than don't play this thing? I honestly can't even call it a game anymore. Games are meant to be fun. This shit isn't fun, it's just a fucking experience. An unpleasant one at that. Regardless, that pretty much sums up my thoughts on this nightmare. So, thank you all for watching, and as always, if this game tries to touch you in a place or in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, that's no good.